So what's the purpose of the Shelterbelts? Well, it's just basically one initially, that is to reduce the wind speed. You can plant trees and shrubs as in a Teddy case, 6 or 7 or 8, 10 rows, or you can have a 1 or 2 rows on the open field. But the main purpose of the properly designed Shelterbelts is to reduce the wind speed. What kind of Shelterbelts we have? You can plant the trees around your farmyard. You can plant the trees on the field. You can plant trees around your livestock operation. If you have some natural areas, you can plant the trees. And the last but not least, which I would strongly encourage you to consider if you have any water or water bodies, is to plant the trees along the riparian areas. This is my perfect farm, as I called. As you can see in this farm, you can have field windbreaks. You have a farmyard that was Shelterbelts around the farmyard. You have a natural forest area for the wildlife. You have a creek that is going through. You have a dugout. It's absolutely everything in one spot, and the biodiversity is pretty high. Yields are higher than the neighboring area, and overall property values are much higher than any other neighboring farms. I want to emphasize one thing that is in southern Alberta is, of course, the water is precious, and the tree has an incredible ability to protect water bodies and water in the area that there is a deficiency in the water. First thing the tree does is purify our drinking water, which is extremely important, and also recharge our water in deep and aquifer. So its trees has an incredible ability to help us out to recharge our groundwater. The one thing in southern Alberta or anywhere around the anywhere around agricultural operations, tree has incredible ability to absorb the pesticide, fertilizer, and heavy metals and other pollutants. In some cases, some of the hybrid poplars can take up to 80% of the chemicals or fertilizer that was on the field to absorb and store into the trees. Also, one of the things that you might consider planting the tree a little bit further away from the irrigation canals is the trees is gonna reduce the evaporation from the canals, and that protect the water bodies around those canals. Again, because of the strong wind, it can take moisture from the open water bodies. So if you can consider planting some of the trees and shrubs along the water bodies, definitely around the dugouts, is going to recharge the dugouts. But again, keep in mind, trees has incredible ability to protect the water. How the Shelterbelt works is simple. By building the Shelterbelts with windbreaks, the purpose is to reduce the wind speed and store the snow. And this example from a good friend of mine sent me from United States, Craig Stange from North Dakota. They did a live example, putting the 2.5-inch fence on the field and to see how much snow is stored. And they're looking at the density, what's the tree spacing is the best that you're going to have a nice and smooth storage of the snow. So what they find out, if you have up to 15 feet tall windbreak, they can store up to 80%, up to 90 tons or 80 or 90 tons of the snow, which is incredible amount of moisture that can be stored behind those windbreaks, which is going to recharge your field and aquifer and provide more moisture to your crop. If you don't design properly and you put a tighter spacing, you might end up with a huge amount of snow, and that's what we don't want to do. That so it's very important that you design proper windbreak to store the moisture equally on your field. Also, as you have lots of livestock operation, planting the trees and shrubs around the feedlots is one of the one of the things that you can do to protect your livestock from the cold wind and the hot summer weather, but also reduce the noise and dust particles that can fly around. So if you design, make sure where the prevailing wind, you make sure that you have a proper distances. You don't want to end up with lots of snow among on the feedlots cells, and how to properly also reduce the negative impact of the noise and dust particles. I'm going to talk about next thing. I'm going to talk about steps to establish the shelter belts in trees.